Li Su didn't hesitate to punch him, sending him flying back. He didn't stop but continuously gave him many more fists. The bald man fell to the ground in pain. Li Su's voice was cold. I'm away, so you think you can make Tae-san collapse? Whether it was someone who instigated you or whether you did it yourself, you guessed wrong. Now he is Baek Doki-young. He coldly said, I will find you guys and today Il Hak will fall. Lee Sung-min was worried and seemed like he wanted to go out. Suddenly a knife passed in front of him, sticking into the seat next to him. Cyan played with the knife in his hand. Didn't you hear me? I was assigned to watch over you. Lee Sung-min's face darkened. He gritted his teeth in anger but didn't dare say anything. The bald guy took off his glasses. Oh my god, our director Beck, if it was normal, it wouldn't be like this. If you were 10 years older, you'd be lucky to get the door. A few people behind laughed loudly and criticized. I thought you were high. It's been a while since I saw you being beaten. Black hair asked, do you find it strange? Bald head, hey, I just got beaten up. Are you guys just standing there watching? Black hair flew around and threw a fist at Lee Su. There's no such thing. Lee Su used his hand to block his punch. The red-haired man took the opportunity to swing his fist from the front at Lee Su, but he leaned back to avoid it. Next, the bald man approached from behind, grabbed Lee Su's collar and squeezed tightly. Seeing that, the red-haired man Il Hak capital, the seven-bladed Choi Kwangful, quickly punched Lee Su in the stomach. He shouted, we are Il Hak's nine-bladed sword. An Il Hak capital nine-bladed Lee Guchong jumped up and kicked Lee Su in the head. Is Il Hak collapsing? Lee Su used his left hand to block the kick. A nine-bladed Il Hak capital, the eight-bladed Jang Dekbi, punched down from above. Lee Su quickly jumped back, successfully avoiding their attack. Nine-blade Choi caught him. Lee Su assessed each person. Each person was very strong, and was also very proficient in coordinating attack. These names form a closed quadrilateral, so just attack one corner. If a counterattack defeats one person, everything will collapse. The bald man was hit by Lee Su's punch and fell down. The black-haired guy rushed in. He supported his senior's back and said loudly, you're old so you can't be sober. Being reminded by his junior to be bald, he then reminded him, don't say that. That Guchong rushed forward to attack. He grabbed Lee Su's shirt and confidently said, Tae-san will collapse today, disappointing you. Another nine-bladed man, Il Hak capital nine-bladed Lee Sun Mung sixth-bladed, he held Lee Su's head tightly, letting the bald man Il Hak capital use nine swords. Dokdo Younggil took the opportunity to punch Lee Su in the face. Cyan gasped, what, those uncles? Lee Sung-min tilted his head and looked out. Il Hak's knife is a nine-blade. All said so, the Il Hak of the past is gone, the glory days of Il Hak are over, but there is one thing that everyone has overlooked. On Jin Yong's side, he was beaten hard on the front of the car window under his back was cracked. Two-blade Choi turned his wrist, don't be too hasty, Jin Yong. He looked at Jin Yong coldly, this is the end of our feelings, Il Hak still has the nine swords. Lee Sung-min is confident, you guys are not opponents of the nine swords. Cyan got out of the car, these gangsters are really gangsters? Sung-min, don't go anywhere, just sit still. Lee Sung-min reminded, even if you help, nothing will change. Cyan turned around to look at him in the car, help, who should I help? He waved his hand, actually, you guys don't know who you're really dealing with anyway. He was serious, Lee Sung-min, if I don't go, those uncles will die. At this time, 7th Dao was punched hard in the stomach by Lee Su, causing saliva to splash. He realized that someone else was attacking him. As expected, the 6th sword jumped up and punched him hard in the stomach, causing Lee Su pain. The 6th blade looked at him, enough, Tae-san will fall. Several other members of the nine swords also ran to attack Lee Su. One shouted loudly, don't play with it anymore. Cyan rushed towards the group of 9 knife people. He kicked the 9 knife man hard in the face. Seeing that the 9th knife was caught by the 8th knife, he said contemptuously, do you want to try it too? Cyan joked, Agu hasn't gotten to that point yet, wouldn't it be better for you guys to deal with me? The 6-bladed fist pointed straight at Lee Su's face and attacked, but Lee Su was not afraid at all and became even colder. He quickly launched consecutive counterattacks into the 6th blade's hand. The attack was so fast that he had no time to dodge. The 4th blade and the 7th blade also had to stand still when they saw Lee Su's attack. After Lee Su's continuous attacks, one of the 6th's arms hung down, unable to move. He thought, it's dislocated, I can't move. In that short moment, the 4th knife angrily shouted, wait. That statement was not to Lee Su, but he wanted to stop the 7th who was trying to attack Lee Su, Kwangful. At the belated reminder, Lee Su raised his hand without changing expression. Before being trained by the district, Chief Jang admitted that Baek Lee Soo was not only strong but also had a very beautiful body. There are no shortcomings, both fighting and life are the same. That guy is not the type of person who will back down when he is hurt. Sometimes there are people like that, both their mind and body are extremely strong, so they absolutely will not fall. At times like that, you have to tie your legs and hands, not allowing them to move. As a result, the spirit will not be able to withstand the body. Lee Soo was training and called the teacher in pain. Manager Jang asked again, "It hurts, right?" "No, do it again, Baek Lee Soo." Returning to the present, the seventh knife was holding his knees lying on the ground screaming in pain. The fourth had to exclaim, "Baek Do Kyung, are you a monster?" Lee Sung Min was sitting in the car when he saw this scene and was extremely shocked. "Baek." He frowned, remembering the words the school police officer had said. Chief Hong met him before he left and asked, "But what are you planning to do with Baek Do Kyung?" Lee Sung Min asked, "What are you trying to say?" The police chief waved his hands. "Baek Do Kyung has a twin brother. So Baek Do Kyung is probably a bit different from other thugs, right? Blocking, hitting, blocking and hitting like that." In the middle of speaking, he excitedly lifted the fishing rod. "Damn Ida, you missed it." He asked himself, what is that younger brother's name?" Back to the match at this time, Lee Soo was also broken. He could only sit on the ground and call out Baek Do Kyung. Lee Soo pressed his fist down. The fourth man panicked. This is really too much. When Lee Soo's fist was about to land on the fourth-bladed bald man's head, a voice rang out to stop him. "Stop." Lee Sung Min got out of the car. "Stop here." Lee Soo turned her head to look at him coldly. The fourth was surprised. "You?" Lee Sung Min put his hand on Lee Soo's shoulder and whispered, "Please talk to me." He called out in an affirmative tone, "Baek Lee Soo." Sung Min thought to himself, "From the beginning I saw something strange, even though I defeated Lee Soo. Now I understand why it was necessary to destroy Do Kyung too. This is a pair of twins." Thinking so, he whispered into the male lead's ear, "The actions at the guild and just now are not like Do Kyung at all." Lee Soo pushed Sung Min's hand away from her and replied, "So is there anything different? Do you know my identity? Will you be able to continue living?" Lee held Sung Min's hand tightly and looked at him with murderous eyes. Sung Min closed his eyes, frowned slightly and emphasized, "Mr. Lee Soo." "No, Director Do Kyung, we can negotiate a bit." Lee Soo glanced at the other person with suspicion. At that moment, a hand from somewhere signaled a ceasefire. Lee Sion smiled awkwardly and said to the two people of the 9 swords, "What are you two talking about? A temporary truce, everyone?" Those two guys sighed and replied, "Okay." After a while, the two sides sat down to negotiate. They kept their distance and sat facing each other to negotiate. Sung Min spoke first, "I admit, we despise the Tae-san Association." Choi Chun-ho turned to ask his juniors, "Are you guys okay? Did Do Kyung alone beat you all?" The bald guy nodded and replied, "Yes, a real brat. It's a monster, we can't fight him." Lee Soo continued, "Sung Min, so what do you want to negotiate?" Seeing Jin Yong, Sion immediately called out to Uncle Godzilla, "Does it still look as healthy as if nothing had happened?" He leaned closer to Jin Yong's ear and added, "Are they sure they are weaker? What if more troops arrive? Even though we are winning," Jin Young interrupted, "because it's a senior, it's okay." Hearing that, Sion smiled and said, "Well, if you say so, it should be okay." Jin Yong reminds Sion to focus on going. Sung Min at the same time received the document in his subordinate's hand and said, "Il Hawk has received a request to erase Tae-san. Who made that request and their purpose are all in this document." Lee Soo rubbed his face and asked, "So?" Lee Sung Min continued, "I will let Tae-san know this information, but in return, Tae-san and Il Hawk will become allies." He thought to himself, "Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, Il Hawk will be stronger, Tae-san will have support." Lee Soo stood up and flatly refused, "No, let's stop with such condition." He walked away and said coldly, "If I just defeat Il Hawk, I will have that document, right?" He Dao Choi said in a threatening voice, "That's good, just try it, you're a bit arrogant, kid." Jin Yong stopped the male lead and advised him, "You can reconsider. This is a good offer for both of us, we will gain Il Hawk's trust." Lee Soo pondered for a moment before speaking, "Is that so? Your behavior makes me bored. Il Hawk or whatever, they're just a bunch of gangsters. Faith, because of those 2 words, my comrades and brother had to fall, isn't that right?" Jin Yong still stubbornly advised, "Mr. Baek Lee Soo." The male lead grabbed his collar and reminded Jin Yong in a low voice, "Call me Baek Do Kyung, sir, Ha Jin Yong." Sion saw the tense situation and quickly separated the two. "It's okay, calm down, are you two fighting each other again like this? Let's finish things here first." Lee Soo glanced at Lee Sung Min, He approached him to negotiate. Sung Min told him, Baek Lee Soo, please think again about that offer. Lee Soo continued, just give me that file, then I can trust you guys a little. Sung Min held the document close to the burning fire as a threat, reminding the male protagonist, be careful of what you say, there is no copy of this document somewhere. Lee Soo pulled out a knife from his waist and challenged, try to do it to me. Jin Young behind saw this and his heart was on fire as he shouted. Director Baek Lee Soo was not inferior and shouted, Il Hawk. How can I trust you bastards? I don't trust anyone anymore. You'll have to give me the documents here, there's no negotiating at all from now on, you must know that I will give orders, and you will only follow orders. All of Il Hawk will have to surrender to Tai San, plus this. I'll take Lee Sung Min, someone from your side, as a hostage. The CEO was taken hostage. Dokdo Young-gil couldn't help but scold, those bastards Tai San. Seeing that Dokdo Young-gil was about to attack, Choi Chun-ho reminded him, 9 swords, everyone stand still, no one can move. He turned to hold the male lead's hand to negotiate. Mr. Baek Do Kyung, is it necessary for you to go to this extent? Faced with this sudden action, Sung Min was a bit surprised and exclaimed, Mr. Choi Chun-ho. Choi Chun-ho took the document back from Sung Min's hand and said, sorry, Director. 9-blade leader, Choi Chun-ho would like to be your hostage replacement. I will be the one to come to Tai San as a hostage, is that okay? Lee Soo emphasized, I said I'm the leader of Il Hawk, can your head be compared to his? Do you have the right to make such a suggestion here? Seeing Jin Yong's tense face, Simon came closer and whispered, Uncle. Jin Yong gently advised the male protagonist, the 9 swords are Il Hawk's representative in the world, that's enough. Lee Soo said in a low voice, think I don't know that? Jin Yong continued, yes, if it were Mr. Baek Do Kyung, he wouldn't behave like that. Hearing this sentence from Jin Yong, the male lead showed a pensive expression. He advised teammate Lee Syan, please observe Mr. Choi Chun-ho's every move for me. Before this decision, Jin Yong did not have any further comments. The male protagonist recalls that 5 years ago in the investigation room, the supervisor sitting opposite the male protagonist said, it's okay, record it, so Baek Lee Soo is a member of the Bok Thu team, right? The male lead obediently replied, that's right, at that time, he was a member of the HID task force, in charge of operations in North Korea and was in the process of investigating his identity. After the mission ended, he invaded North Korea. Kim Jae-wook, supervisor of the investigation force, continuously asked interrogative questions, so what is your mission? Lee Soo honestly replied, everything needs to be kept confidential, sir. The Kim family asked further, security, what are you saying? Think about your situation when you set foot in North Korea and become their soldier, that side also can't check your information and identity, right? Lee Soo replied, due to the nature of the mission, all my information has been deleted. Kim Jae-wook added, so please talk about your superiors, the station or something related. Lee Soo firmly said, as said, everything must be confidential, give me a secure line of communication so I can talk to them. Kim Jae-wook was angry, slammed his hand on the table, and said in a low voice, tired, Mr. Baek Lee Soo. Our side absolutely does not like that North Korean campaign at all. You have an obligation to cooperate with us and declare your identity, but there seems to be some misunderstanding. This is what you have to do, because it is your duty to the country. You heard clearly, right? Do as I say. All my words will stand. If I say you are a communist, it cannot be otherwise. You are not pure either, are you? Just tell us honestly, then everything will be done. Chief Jang walked in from nowhere and respectfully said to Kim Jae-wook, Sir, I am Major Jang Sung-ho, in charge of the Special Intelligence Unit. I heard that my people are here so I came to bother you a bit. Kim Jae-wook held out the document and said, Major, is that it? It's no trouble, internal investigation is our duty. Jang Sung-ho defended the male lead, yes, you're joking, what kind of insider? This kid is like my relative. Kim Jae-wook took out a cigarette from his pack and replied, Hey Major, do you think I have time to joke or something? You heard it, I say this kid is a spy. Jang Sung-ho went into the water, sorry Lieutenant Colonel, maybe you're a little confused, I said. Kim Jae-wook interrupted, that's true, if anything happens in the future, you need to say it clearly, to avoid unfortunate misunderstanding. He lit a cigarette in his hand. Jang Sung-ho took off his glasses and emphasized, listen carefully to what I said, this boy is like a relative of mine, not an insider or anything. No matter what you think, I'll tell you again, that boy is not a communist, do you understand? Having finished speaking, Jang Sung-ho took the male lead away right in front of Kim Jae-wook. Looking at their backs walking away, Kim Jae-wook angrily said after him, this will not be peaceful, I will report to the top about the major's behavior. Ah! He shouted, where are all the guards, catch those two for me quickly. Not receiving a response, He ran out to take a look. The scene in front of him made Kim Jae-wook exclaim, "Oh my god, what the hell is this?" Coming out of the interrogation room, Jang Sung-ho said to the male lead, "Hey Lee-soo, you're causing me so much trouble. I've only just returned and I've already been scolded and slapped by my superiors." Lee-soo calmly replied, "It's not my fault, it's because he kept trying to frame me as a spy." Jang Sung-ho smiled bitterly, "Look at your appearance, who would believe this? Just say it again and say you agree. We trust each other as a family, look at the way you dress. If my daughter or you were a spy, I would personally purge them to relieve fatigue." Lee-soo smiled slightly. Lee-soo asked Mr. Jang, "Isn't Lieutenant Colonel Kim your superior just now?" Would acting like that, Jang Sung-ho reassured, "It's okay, it's all national. I'm not afraid of anything either." When he saw the male lead step out, Cyan was waiting in the car and teased, "What took so long for the spy to be questioned? Let's all go eat, I'm so hungry, ha ha." With their hair and clothes, they looked no different from North Korean soldiers. Jang Sung-ho reached out his hand and said to the male lead, "Welcome back to your home, Captain Baek Lee-soo." Looking back at the commemorative photo of that year in his hand, Lee-soo tiredly lowered his face to the table. Suddenly there was a knock on the door, and he said to the person outside, "Come in." Jin Yong stepped in and said, "Lee Cyan is monitoring Choi Chun-ho's every move according to your wishes." Lee-soo tiredly held his head and continued, "Thank you, Jin Yong." Jin Yong politely replied, "It just needs to be done." "I also need to tell you about the last thing," Lee-soo interrupted, "about Il Hak's matter." Jin Yong suddenly grabbed Lee-soo's collar and lifted him up. He emphasized, "I made a mistake, Mr. Baek Lee-soo, Tae-san cannot leave it to you to manage. You are you can't become Baek Do-kyung." On Jang Sung-ho's side, he was sitting in the restaurant calling his daughter, "Yes, daughter, have you eaten yet?" "Dad, I know, I'm eating now, my daughter, remember to eat well too. It's not a nagging, I'm just worried about you." At that moment, a man wearing a blue shirt entered the restaurant. He waved to greet, "Hey, Manager Jang. I know a lot of good places. Knowing that, I've already sent you messages about those places. Why does it have to be this place?" Mr. Jang replied, "Yes, sit down." He signaled the other man to be quiet and said to his daughter on the phone, No, this place is a bit noisy." "Yeah, I'll call you back later." The man in the blue shirt took the opportunity to order, "Miss, give me something like that. Does it have internal organs? I don't eat internal organ." He turned to Jang Sung-ho and asked, "Daughter, it seems like she just came back from studying abroad." Jang Sung-ho avoided and talked about other things. "Chief, the matter on the General Assembly's side has ended well." The chief asked tentatively, "What?" "I'm sure the table is already prepared, we just need to eat everything one by one, but we've eaten until we're full and still have no news." Jang Sung-ho said in a low voice, "The General Assembly is a thug after all." The chief just poured rice into the bowl and asked, "Are you going to keep it going like this?" He smiled faintly, Hey, it's like that again, just mixing the rice made my mouth water. I'm also covered in blood because of this, but those guys aren't that easy to deal with. I admit, our department head has very good abilities, but it's not as easy as you think." Jang Sung-ho continued, "Anyway, we're just novices in this matter, right? We have to handle it professionally. Soon the One Sink project will be launched. Now I must go directly to the General Assembly." The chief wondered, "You, who, Seungmin? If not, what about the other henchmen? Anyway, if you want to have a foot in One Sink, you have to start managing the General Assembly. If you take this opportunity to give the parliamentarians a taste of the sweetness, things will proceed more smoothly." Let's see. In the end, Baek Lee-soo and his men were suspected by the command of following the three stripes and were dealt with. So, taking this opportunity, will the department head and new members show off their true strength? Jang Sung-ho replied, "If that's the case, then we have to act." The supervisor continued to pour rice into the soup bowl and said, "Hey, this is so messy." Back to the main mail. When he looked at the file that Seung-min gave him, he sadly held his head. "It seems to be this one." He took the photo taken with his old squad from his chest, for that kind of reason. "So we all have to die." Lee-soo looked at the photo and couldn't help but feel sorry for his teammates. Continuing the story, when Jin Yong went to report to Lee-soo, Jin Yong knocked on the door. He carefully walked in and said, "Sorry for bothering you." Jin Yong reported, "As you said, Cyan is following Choi Chun-ho." The male lead continued, "You've worked hard." Jin Yong humbly replied, "This is Tae-san's business." At the same time, Cyan was watching the Choi family. He called someone and laughed and said, "Nothing special, Tae-san isn't too bad. By the way, it's really nice to have a vacation like this." On the other end of the line, Seungmin told him, "I'm sorry, it's all because I'm too clumsy." Choi Chun-ho told him, "What clumsiness? But this is not about the organization's judgment, so we're all just following that judgment." I believed and followed the organization's judgment. The results were a bit unexpected, but from the beginning, I didn't think it was a wrong judgment. We will meet again soon, old Choi advised Seungmin. Just take it slow, I will take this opportunity to rest well. Cyan asked curiously, is it because of that boss that you were brought here like this? If we bother you, what should we do? Choi Chun-ho opened the plate of food and replied, this is my choice, I accept. Only then did Simon realize, isn't it the boss's choice? Whatever you say, do it. In the end, you were caught and brought here like this. Choi Chun-ho sighed. I have a slightly different thought about this. Is Tae-san such an organization? If so, then Tae-san is really disappointing. Cyan heard that and pondered in his mind, raising a big question mark. Returning to the male lead, Jin Yong told him, I think I was wrong, Baek Lee-soo, I shouldn't have given Tae-san to you. Let it go, Baek Lee-soo. Lee-soo gritted his teeth angrily, you treat me like a child who gives me what he wants, or doesn't leave it alone. What are you going to do? You want to protect Tae-san, and I need an organization to take revenge, that's why we acquired Il Hawk. So what's the problem? Jin Yong explained, there's a problem with our approach, first you have to become Baek Do-kyung. Lee-soo turned his head away in annoyance and said, that's why I'm impersonating Baek Do-kyung. Jin Yong shook his head, no, if it was Baek Do-kyung, Tae-san wouldn't do that. Tae-san is an organization built on trust in Baek Do-kyung, so you must make everyone in the organization believe in Baek Do-kyung. Lee-soo was confused, faith or some method, what should I do? Up until now, the General Association still just thinks that the kids are playing. Believe it, it's not an organization, so you just have to follow the boss's orders. How? I can use absolute strength to oppress them all like thugs do. There's a problem. What? Jin Yong took off his shirt and challenged Baek Lee-soo, Mr. Baek Lee-soo, if that's the case, then first, show me how kids play. Hearing that, Lee-soo looked at him with cold eye. He rushed forward to actively attack Jin Yong. Jin Yong quickly blocked the attack. He refused to give up and grabbed Baek Lee-soo's collar. Then swing your fist decisively. Lee-soo squinted one painful eye and stared at the other person. Jin Yong was provocative, is that all? Intelligence officer or something? While Jin Yong was distracted, Lee-soo kicked him in the chin. He forced himself to hold on to the edge of the table and stood up. Jin Yong's chin was also swollen and purple after the knock. Returning to Cyan, Mr. Choi was analyzing him, an organization that uses force to subdue and force others to obey. Who will obey such an organization? You often call us thugs, do you know what that means? We are people who live by our fists and believe in each other's dignity. People like that, because of their interests, gathered together and caused war. There will be people who fight together and there will also be people who stab others in the back. Thugs are like that, and then there will appear people who believe and are completely loyal to you. After the fight between Lee-soo and Jin Yong, the room became extremely messy. Lee-soo gained the upper hand and grabbed Jin Yong's collar, his face darkened as if he wanted to devour someone else. He thought Jin Yong would continue to beat him, but no, Lee-soo stood up and left. He echoed, I think I was wrong. Solving things in a thuggish way is not the problem, but their way requires more than just superior strength. If an organization operates with superior strength, it is the military. Cyan sighed, phew, what an army. At that moment, Cyan's phone rang. Cyan said goodbye to Mr. Choi, you're really interesting, let's talk again next time, enjoy your vacation. Choi Chun-ho wondered, aren't you here to monitor me? Cyan replied, what, I didn't think you would run away, but hey. Everyone can't believe it, but I really don't want to use my strength to overpower you. Having finished speaking, Cyan went to see Lee-soo. The male protagonist tells him, let's do it our way from now on. Cyan heard that and nodded slightly. Lee-soo continued, create a new organization with capable people. Let's approach the guy we talked about before, because over there are the pros, do it the way the pros do. Lee-soo coldly ordered, the deadline is 1 week, deal with the General Association within that time limit. Jinyan was still lying thoughtfully on the ground, surrounded by a mess of broken objects. Jin Yong lay motionless for a few hours, then gradually reminisced about the past. 4 years ago, at a small roadside restaurant, Jin Yong was still a small chef at that time. He asked someone who often came to the restaurant, why do you keep coming? A man with blood all over his shirt, he slowly lit a cigarette in his hand and replied, is there anything else to do when coming to a restaurant? Of course I came here to eat. That man was Baek Do-kyung. He looked at Jin Yong, smiled slightly and said, is that how you treat regular customers? Don't you know what customer care is? That's why the store's business is not doing well. Jin Yong approached Do-kyung and said, no smoking here. Do-kyung smiled and replied, sorry, it's just a habit, but. Looking at the corpses lying on the ground, he continued wonderingly, these people aren't counted as customers, right? Jin Yong replied dejectedly, go, before things get more complicated, Do-kyung replied, it's a bit late to go now. At this time, suddenly a guy with long curly hair came in and said aggressively, is that dog guy? I heard rumors, that's why I came here, but looking at them like this, I can be sure that you are Ha Jin Yong. The debt collection manager's name is Hook, an organization affiliated with the Jialang gang. Lee Hung-gu continued, why don't you come to Il Hak anymore, are you afraid of seeing the captain's faces? Baek Do-kyung, standing next to him, saw this and immediately said, hey, the owner here said the shop doesn't accept gangsters, I'm the only regular customer here. Lee Hung-gu frowned at him and replied, what is this idiot barking at? If you have the guts, just try. He stared at Do-kyung for a long while, then added, aha, if you look closely. He leaned closer, put his hand on Do-kyung's face, touched it and said, every brat looks like this now, right? You really don't have any taste at all, just try touching Hook in Han Nam Dong. It's beautiful, but go somewhere else and sell it. Oh, I forgot, you don't have that nerve. Do-kyung coldly replied, Hook is really a walnut name. After hearing this, Lee Hung-gu stood still and exclaimed, what the hell? Do-kyung held Hung-gu's hand with one hand, raised the knife towards him with the other hand, looked at him with a small smile and continued, but to talk about that Hook hand, shouldn't you only have one hand? As soon as the words ended, a scream rang out, making Lee Hung-gu's subordinates outside extremely panicked. Lee Hung-gu groaned and cursed continuously, you crazy dog, don't you know who your father is? La Hook is under Jia Lang's command, then Jia Lang will chase and kill you. After hearing this, Do-kyung smiled happily and replied, is there anyone who cares? Your father is Tae-san, quickly call all of your people here. Lee Hung-gu's subordinates ran in, saw that Do-kyung had cut off 2 fingers of their big brother's hand, bleeding continuously, and urgently said, brother, go to the hospital first. Hung-gu looked at his hand being cut off and cursed loudly, you crazy dog. Lee Hung-gu and his subordinates left, now only the restaurant owner Jin Yong and Do-kyung remained. Jin Yong spoke up, let them go like that, how are you going to deal with Jia Lang? Baek Do-kyung smiled calmly and replied, what do you mean, you're in the same boat as me, there's nothing to worry about. The restaurant is dusty and doesn't even have a menu, I don't see any hope of doing business here, you just want to clean up the gangsters around here, right? Do-kyung took a cigarette and turned to look at the shop owner, although his face seemed to be smiling, his eyes were extremely serious and sincere, but this is something I can help you with, how about, follow me? Jin Yong hesitated for a moment then asked, do you know who you will face? Do-kyung frowned, looking dissatisfied and replied, what else, I already told you we are Tae-san, have you never been bored with anyone before? Jin Yong extended his arm with a hair tied towards Do-kyung, he shyly turned away and said, tie your hair up and hold a knife, you look like a monster. Do-kyung took the hair tie from Jin Yong's hand and happily replied, oh ho, thank you, but the food at your restaurant is not delicious at all, stop trying to do business, be 100% serious. Jin Yong always carried the hair tie with him that year. He lay on the floor, looked at it thoughtfully and then slowly fell asleep without realizing it. The absence of the leader has caused countless large and small gangs to prepare to take over the office of the Jia Lang Association. The scene changes to where Lee Hung-gu is now, not only is he missing a hand but also has one eye, looking at his left hand, which is missing 2 fingers, it is a work Do-kyung created in the past. Up to now, Lee Hung-gu is still resentful, he is angry again, that damn son of a bitch, what business can you do with your hands and feet like this? He clenched his fist and said solemnly, but even so, today will be the day of our death battle, during the past 4 years, I have never forgotten this hatred for even a second. After saying that, Lee Hung-gu immediately gathered his juniors and announced, this is the moment, when Tae-san has withdrawn from the General Association and is seriously weakened, Lee Hung-gu added with arrogance and determination, today, will be the day we destroy Tae-san. Go ahead, brothers. Immediately after the announcement, the crowd below chanted in unison, yes, sir, they have a total army of 50 people, affiliated with Jia Lang and HK Finance, Hook. However, the excitement didn't last long, suddenly, the door of the room where they gathered was banged with a loud noise, attracting everyone's attention. One guy exclaimed in bewilderment, what kind of dog is that? Then, the door was kicked open and a man in black was sent flying out. Seeing that, the other black-shirted man couldn't help but be surprised and confused. A large foreigner, named Boris, boldly entered. Hook's men stood still for a few seconds, not knowing what Boris intended to do. After dealing with the guys at the door, Boris slowly walked in. As soon as he arrived, he immediately touched his head and took off his hat. Remember the day before when he was working as a porter at the construction site? The manager shouted, Boris, did you see anyone doing this? The manager pointed at the nearby wall and angrily said, this kind of lack of awareness. Who would randomly draw and paint at a construction site like this? On the newly constructed wall at the construction site, someone painted a star-shaped logo. Seeing the drawing on the wall, Boris's face immediately changed. He did not respond to the manager but pondered for a moment and then left. The manager bewilderedly called out, "Boris." At a warehouse, Lee Syan smiled happily and said, "You mean Ovcharka, Captain? He returned to Russia a long time ago." Baek Lee Soo seriously replied, "He is hiding as a foreign worker." The sunlight outside filtered through the crack in the door where Syan and Lee Soo were talking. The warehouse door was being opened by someone. Boris coldly walked in. Based on the letter on the wall, he came here. Boris is a member of the Russian Mafia security investigation team, the hunting dog of boss Pa Khan, commonly known as Ovcharka. He held a knife and walked in, thinking, "I will not return until I find the traitor." Upon arriving, Boris did not say anything, immediately grabbed a knife and rushed towards Lee Soo, attacking him. Seeing Lee Soo, Boris pondered, "Ovcharka, is he also part of the organization? Impossible." Just as the knife was about to stab his neck, Lee Soo promptly held out a USB and coldly said, "I came to make a deal, devil." Hearing this, Boris immediately stopped and stared at the USB. Boris took off his helmet, revealing a tattoo of a demon hand on the back of his head. Boris is the devil in the guise of an orthodox man with a tattoo on his head and long black and red fingers like a devil. Back to reality, when he saw Boris enter, One Eye was still unaware of the seriousness of the situation but still said aggressively, "What? Who is that guy? What is he doing on such an important day? Get rid of him." Hearing that, the whole group rushed up to attack. But when they saw the shiny silver gun in Boris's hand, they froze in horror. One man trembled and exclaimed, "Guns, guns, this." The whole crowd was bewildered when Boris immediately took the gun and hit one guy in the face, causing him to faint on the spot. The guy next to him saw that and pulled out a dagger from his shirt to attack, but Boris quickly threatened him with a gun. Boris smiled happily and cursed, "You motherfuckers." As soon as the words finished, the black-shirted man was immediately knocked out by Boris with a direct punch. The whole group rushed up at the same time following the command of one-eyed Lee Hung-gu. Everyone rushed up. Boris was surrounded and hugged tightly by 3 or 4 men, unable to move his arms or legs. Another guy took the opportunity to jump up and hug his neck from behind, happily shouting, "Caught him." Boris quickly bit his hand hard, causing him to let go in pain. In just a few notes, One-Eye's Jr. was cleaned out by Boris. Boris picked up the knife. He slowly approached the man in black lying on the ground, pressed his head down, and laughed savagely. His junior Lee Hung-gu's blood splattered all over his face, screaming for help. Hung-gu saw that and trembled in fear. What is this, my hand?" From Boris's hand, drops of blood flowed to the floor. He coldly said, "People nurture demons inside themselves to hide their own weakness." One-eyed Lee was forced to kneel on the ground by his head and shouted loudly, "Crazy man, what kind of dog is that? Wait, let me go." Boris laughed with delight, then placed the knife on his head, adding, "Is there a devil inside you?" When he was about to strike, Lee Syan promptly stopped him. "Boris, stop, good job, Boris, stop." "Okay." The one-eyed man smirked and said, Where did you guys come from? Have you heard of the name Jia Lang?" Lee Syan took out his phone to call and replied, "I know, Jia Lang, it's so miserable and we are Tae-san's people. HK Finance, Hook, under Jia Lang now has only one person left in the total army." As soon as the other end of the line picked up the phone, Lee Syan immediately reported, "Dear Director, these guys are HK Financial agents from Jia Lang." Looking at all his juniors defeated by Boris, one-eyed Lee Hung-gu knelt on the ground in surprise, saying, "What kind of evil corporation is Tae-san?" Baek Lee Soo pondered as his subordinate reported the situation, "But Captain, this witness honestly, I don't really believe it. I know his strength, but can you control him? Okay him." He thought for a while then replied, "His strength is also good and above all, as long as he gives money, he never disobeys." Lee Syan exclaimed in bewilderment, "Huh?" At this time, Lee Soo was following a guy in a purple shirt. He hid behind the wall to listen to Syan's phone call, but it seemed that the guy had realized that someone was following him, so he immediately walked towards where Lee Soo was hiding. Syan kept talking on the other end of the line, "No way, anyway, go ahead, too, damn capitalist." At this moment, the purple-shirted young man immediately took out a knife and attacked Lee Soo from behind. Lee Soo was agile and was able to block one of his knives in time. He looked at Baek Lee Soo and said, "You better have a reasonable reason who asked you to come here. He's a North Korean agent." The boy looked at Baek Lee Soo in surprise, thinking, "Is that guy a spy in the South?" He asked Lee Soo again, "Who are you? Who sent you here?" Seeing that Lee Soo did not answer, the boy continued to ask, "If not, could it be that someone from above sent it down?" This boy is an anti-Korean teenage spy, nicknamed White Belly, 17-year-old Lim Kyung-chun, the main surveillance subject of the National Intelligence Agency, currently on the run. I object. Lim Kyung-chun rotated the dagger in his hand a few times, then began to slash repeatedly. The two of them fought and dodged like that for a long while. Lee Soo dodged the attack and thought to himself, too young, that kid. He quickly kicked Lee Soo's knife away. Looking at the cut on his right arm, Lee Soo spoke up, even though I'm young, my strength is quite good, it's been a long time since we met. White Belly, hearing the previous name, Kyung-chun was extremely surprised. Do you know me? This is so magical. When I went out, I killed everyone who knew who I was, right? The boy spoke while observing Lee Soo, thinking, because I killed all my teammates and superiors and went south. Suddenly, an acquaintance appeared that made me feel confused. 3 years ago, in Gaesong Industrial Park, a deserted industrial park far from Pyongyang. During a gathering, a majestic voice rang out, attention everyone, I am Major Lee Woo Chang of the Reconnaissance Department. Do you guys know where you are? The so-called comrades here are all children. Major Lee Woo Chang said, this is where North Korea and others gather to make profits, Gaesong Industrial Park. If it is built in North Korea, it will be shipped to South Korea and used, there to fill your stomach. He looked at the children below, clenched his fists, and continued, the kids in South Korea look at us like they look at wild dogs, but that's good. So North Korea created it, try it, but the things we do, are not just products of capitalism. Bite off their necks like wild beasts. That nickname White Belly is your duty and mission. Team White Belly is a plan to train teenage spies in the Gaesong Industrial Park, to infiltrate deep inside South Korea. According to the plan, they worked in the industrial park during the day, and at night they were trained to become spies in the south and move south with the industrial park's goods. But this plan was not taken seriously. One day, someone's voice rang out, Kyung-chun. Kyung-chun. The boy was working hard when he heard the call and immediately turned to look. The driver held something in his hand and excitedly said, hey, Kyung-chun, a delicious box of choco pie. Immediately, the box was brought before him. Eat this. Seeing the chocolate-covered cakes, little Lim did not maintain his image and ate them greedily. The driver put his hand on his head and gently said, eat slowly, share it with your friends too. The kid said while eating the cake, Lim, my last name is Lim. The other guy smiled wryly and replied, is that so? It's the same. The teenagers here are extremely excited because they are exposed to the flavors of capitalism in the Gaesong Industrial Park where they work. For Kim Kyung-chun, who came from the SLU MS, it was even more profound. The huge cake box was cleaned up in just a blink of an eye. The price of hard training, the reward is the taste of capitalism. 2 years later, naive teenagers have been trained to become sharp knives. Looking at the sharp knives he created, the commander thoughtfully said, how long will it take? The comrade next to him immediately replied, now, if you want a complete ideological education and put it into use, it will take about 2 years. The commander said sternly, let's start this week, that's an order from above. He whispered in his heart, Gaesong Industrial Park will be cancelled, so we must prepare immediately, we must show the results to our superior. A few days later, I saw the driver grimacing and said, oh my god, what should I do with this? Lim Kyung-chun asked in confusion, uncle, what's going on? Why is your face as white as a piece of paper? The driver turned around and saw the boy looking at him with expectant eyes, so he understood, Kyung-chun is here, I'll give you your stuff tonight, so please wait. The uncle lowered his head and sadly added, there is no other way, we have to wait until night. The driver thought of the commander's words at that time, put everyone in the car and take them to South Korea. Soon it was late at night. Seeing Lim Kyung-chun standing absent-mindedly eating cake, the comrade next to him called softly, hey Lim Kyung-chun, let's go quickly, what are you doing? Hurry up, once you reach South Korea, you can eat comfortably. Kim Kyung-chun looked at the cake in his hand and said coldly, is your stomach exploding? Is South Korea full of this stuff? The comrade from before immediately replied, first we have to deal with the driver, everyone, prepare to go. Hearing this, Lim Kyung-chun immediately exclaimed in horror, wait, the driver, shouldn't we just ask that driver to take us? When the soldier pulled out a knife to attack the driver, Kyung-chun quickly stopped him, wait, there is another way, think about it more. The other comrade frowned and continued solemnly, don't joke, we don't have time. Thinking about what? Before he could finish his words, he was sent down to meet his ancestors with a knife by Kim Kyung-chun. Another person spoke up, what else do you want to think about now? Very quickly, the name he just mentioned was neatly handled by him. Kim Kyung-chun looked at the remaining group of people and said, wait a minute. Everyone looked at him in surprise, wondering, what are you talking about? Seeing them like that, Kim Kyung-chun immediately rolled his eyes and replied, comrades, don't you listen to me. At this time, the driver still did not know anything, but was immersed in a dream. Kim Kyung-chun opened the car door. His sparkling eyes said, "Uncle, can you give me a ride to South Korea? Anyway, South Korea suits me very well." The group of people who were with him earlier were killed and lying on the ground. A commander, seeing the cold face of Comrade Commander Lee Woo-chang, exclaimed in horror, "Major Lee Woo-chang, don't do that."
Why did other comrades become like that? At 3:30 a.m., all members, including the teachers of the new special working group, died at the hands of Kim Kyung-chun. At 3:55 a.m., a spy suddenly appeared and intervened in Lim Kyung-chun's sudden action.
Looking at the person in front of him who took off Commander Lee's mask, the remaining commander immediately exclaimed in horror, What is this? Who are you?" Afterwards, Lim Kyung-chun, known as White Belly, was requested to be appointed as a subject of surveillance management. The person who reported the anomaly, Baek Lee-soo, Head Task Force, Northern Working Group. Baek Lee-soo has 4 years of experience, fighting in the North for a long time, penetrating the North 8 times. Returning to the present, after listening to Baek Lee-soo's story, White Belly immediately exclaimed, "That's really good, Captain Baek." At this time, Lee-soo placed the knife on Lim Kyung-chun's jugular artery. He excitedly added, "This is the knife skill we learned in North Korea, but..." Lim Kyung-chun saw that there was no way to beat the guy in front of him, so he raised his hand high and said, "You learned this really quickly, I surrender." Baek Lee-soo immediately replied, "I'm not chasing you, Lim Kyung-chun." Lim Kyung-chun smiled slightly and continued, "I just heard that now, as expected, it came from the north. Are you hunting me? If you weren't following me, then why did you come all the way here?" Lee-soo replied, "I came to propose a trade." Lim Kyung-chun opened the chocolate package in his hand and replied, "Trading, trading. That's a word I really like, it sounds very capitalist, say it quickly, comrade." Scene changes to Jeorang Mountain. At Red Crown Hotel, the sky has gradually turned dark. A man was hit in the head with a wine bottle, accompanied by a curse, "What the hell is that?" After hearing his subordinates report the situation, the hotel owner angrily said, "In half a day, 3 hotels were suspended from business." The scared employee replied, Sorry, director." The district also said there was no other way. The boss walked out wearing a swimsuit, laughing maniacally, "Ha, damn." He grabbed the employee's hair and pulled him back, saying, "Then you guys have to find out, you dogs only know yes," and closed the hotel. The employee quickly said with tears in his eyes, "I'm sorry." The boss continued scolding, "Don't just follow orders from your superior." When he raised his hand to continue torturing his subordinate, "Damn it, you idiot has a full head of hair, quickly go find out." Suddenly another guy ran in panic and shouted, "Director! HK credit in Han Nam Ward has been destroyed by Tae-san." Hearing that, the director angrily shouted, "Tae-san, was it all caused by those dogs? Gather everyone, go to Tae-san and Han Nam Ward." The entire army aggressively followed the director. Down in the lobby, a man saw this and said, "Oh my god, look at his tail, look at those thugs." One of the guys saw a stranger and said, "Damn, what is that?" The ghost's movements were quick and he grabbed his hand in the blink of an eye. He smiled softly and continued, "Oh, I'm sorry, I bent it too much, now you have to eat with your left hand." Immediately, a punch rushed straight towards the ghost. He dodged the attack and replied, "Did you think I was caught off guard?" The director smiled evilly and said, "Lately, many people like to eat dirty food." Manager Jang next to him immediately stopped him. Sorry, Director Tae-hyung. Our kids are a bit rough, but we've looked around, the hotel business has a lot of problems. If you just say a few words, everything will be resolved well. First, let's sit down, right?" Tae-hyung smiled triumphantly and replied, "Ha ha, look at him. Stopping my hotel business, not Tae-san, but you talk so much, and what are you talking about? What you ask me now is to save your life." Tae-hyung sat on a nearby chair and spoke aggressively. The silver-haired guy heard that and burst out laughing. What a bunch of thugs, no matter how you look at them, they don't look good. If you do that, you'll die right there, you thug." He is Phantom Yuryong. Tae-hyung's face darkened, he tried to stay calm and replied, "This is my area, you dare?" Chief Jang immediately interrupted, "Director Ryu Tae-hyung." He took off his glasses and said seriously, "Let's do it well, I came to ask you a favor. Next, I won't ask for help anymore, but we'll fight you, do you understand? Wolves are the top predators among animals, they are smaller carnivores than bears and tigers. However, the reason why they can be top carnivores, dominating all species, is because they are not similar to other carnivores. They often gather in groups to hunt and live in groups, and there is one wolf who is the leader and dominates the whole group. The leadership force that represents this wolf is considered the leader. Large organizations with structures similar to wolf packs are Earth Wolves. The main leader is Earth Wolf Ryu Taehyung. Taehyung frowned, smirked and said, "Fuck you, that's unreasonable, borrow, me, Earth Wolf." Head of Department Jang puffed on the cigarette in his hand and thoughtfully replied, "What is an Earth Wolf?" These words made Director Taehyung freeze and exclaim, "What?" Manager Jang added, "The hotel business is in every alley throughout the Jongsan area, and is also involved in this and that. After all, you guys are thugs, right? Got it." As he spoke, he pulled out a gun from his shirt to show his authority. "Hunters with guns come after the wolf pack. We are different from you amateurs, we are professional." Taehyung heard this and was extremely angry. He started to move his wrist and then replied, "Damn it, what are you talking about? So you mean you want to fight, right?" Manager Jang calmly replied, "So you should relax a bit. Then let's talk about business." Director Taehyung, after saying that, he immediately gave Taehyung a stack of documents. Taehyung took it, grimaced and said, "Fucking business, what else?" After a while of research, Taehyung found that there were many extremely lucrative terms in there. He said thoughtfully, "This. Do you really want to feed us? Maybe it's so delicious that you want to share it with us. Why do you give such good things to us? If there's something wrong, we'll be the ones who eat it, and you're the only one who gets the better deal, right? How can we trust you to accept it? This one?" Manager Jang rubbed his glasses and said seriously, "I told you, this is business." Yor Yong next to him then spoke up, "We will provide the necessary manpower, they are all professional." As soon as the words ended, Director Taehyung immediately tore up the contract in front of Manager Jang. He threw them at them and replied, "Fuck you, you've been talking about experts and experts all this time. We also have to confirm carefully before we can talk about business. First, let me see the strength of these professionals." The scene changes to a small roadside shop. Lee Sion arrived at the meeting point, but there was no one around. He picked up the phone and frowned. "Oh my god, really? It's been a long time since the appointment time and I still haven't seen anyone." At this moment, Beck Lee Su's phone call. Lee Sion asked, "Captain, what's going on?" "Oh, where did you disappear to?" Lee Su asked. "Do you hear clearly?" Lee Sion replied, "Yes, Captain." Lee Su advised, "For now, you just wait there and I will call you later." This side, after we were taking action, we approached the ferret. Lee Sion replied, "Iron Weasel, no problem, right?" The two doormen saw them entering and immediately looked bewildered. "What is this? Look over there." Lee Sion continued, "Is he useful?" A doorman said ferociously, "Where is this that you dare to enter?" Immediately, Lim, the name Panther, quickly took out his knife and flashed in front of the two doormen. When they regained consciousness, their jugular artery had been cut. Lim Kyung Chun said happily, "If you don't want to die, then tell us everything." Beck Lee Su next to him calmly answered Lee Sion's phone call. "He's also useful." Lee Sion thoughtfully added, Okay, but is he too young?" Captain Beck replied as he went inside, "Is that guy planning to approach us? Is it useful?" When they opened the door, a knife immediately rushed towards them. A bald guy inside rushed forward aggressively. Die. Beck Lee Su grabbed the hand holding the knife and stared at him. In the blink of an eye, the bald man was sitting on the ground in pain, holding his hands and screaming, this bastard." The voice in Lee Su's Bluetooth headset rang out, "This side is also great, I was also surprised to see it. While the captain went to the north, I was sent to the US Army in the Middle East. I went there to teach English." Even though the guys in front of him had their knives ready for battle, Lee Su still calmly replied, "You said so." Beak Lee Su replied, "Just say it." Sion continued his story, "There's a guy named Deadline, he's the guy who just needs to give money and he'll listen to that person right away, that's why he's called servant." Captain Lee Su responded while dealing with the Earth Wolf group, "The servant, does everyone listen to everything?" Sion replied, "That's right, just give him money and he can do anything." At the same time, Lim Kyung Chun was also acting extremely enthusiastically, continuously defeating several Earth Wolf Jr. Beck Lee Su stepped forward, patted Kyung Chun's shoulder and said, "Let's continue to act, we have to take down all the organizations under Jia Lang, right? Now that we have captured the player, we must destroy the organization under the giant Earth Wolf." Lee Sion on the other end of the line said, "So it's a guerrilla battle, let me handle it a bit and then reunite with you two later." Captain Beak replied, "I know, you also have to act quickly." Suddenly, an axe blade flew across Lee Su's face. He coldly grabbed it and replied to Lee Sion, "Because that side also acted faster than we thought." A guy wearing a white vest saw that he couldn't hit him and scowled and cursed, "Damn, what is this, what do you want a cat?" He said to his juniors, "Are they the guys from the Hyunggu investigation group? Do you dare to meddle with our Earth Wolves? This person is the owner of Doki Doki nightclub. A member of the Kim Doki Wolf Association, Baek Lee-soo calmly said to Kyung-chun, quickly clean them up, we iron weasels are just amateurs. Lim Kyung-chun took the chocolate cake and immediately rushed towards Dookie and said, it seems like that, right, we have to deal with you guys quickly. When Iron Weasel was about to attack the Earth Wolf's big brother, suddenly, 2 bodyguards behind him rushed to block the attack. Their counterattack also caused Kyung-chun to almost lose his life, but luckily, that knife only hit Kyung-chun's mouth with a piece of cake. Looking at their quick reaction and decisive action, Iron Weasel Lim exclaimed in surprise, what a surprise, these guys are players, they are trained in the army. He thought, so there are guys like this on the Earth Wolf side. When the big brother saw that his group of people had blocked the attack, he showed his face and said arrogantly, what, these guys were sent to me by director Ryu Tae-hyung of Jia Lang, I heard that you guys are educated, there's a difference in ability, right, even I'm surprised. They've probably come to your Tae-san by now, you're not the only ones using your brains, you guys should go home and take a look, maybe your organization and your boss have all been beaten to death, there. Doki was still proud, boldly provoking the 2 Lee-soo, what, are you scared? Baek Lee-soo heard that and immediately thought, did Chief Jang directly intervene in one sink or did he entice the Earth Wolf? Behind, Lim Kyung-chun looked at the situation, happily raised 2 fingers towards Baek Lee-soo, smiled and bid, double. You have to give me double, these guys are players, so you have to give me double. Otherwise, I have some questions, so I'll try to check again, after all, I'm a North Korean spy, I don't know if I can take down the South Korean players or not. Having said that, Kyung-chun rushed up as fast as he could and attacked the bodyguards. Before his opponent's knife touched his body, Chon Lim quickly delivered a fatal blow to his arm. Kyung-chun quickly grabbed his opponent's hand and rotated his knife around. A sharp knife cut into his artery, sending him out immediately. The guy behind intended to take advantage of Iron Weasel's lack of attention to stab him a few times, but immediately, Kyung-chun lightly slashed him a few times, causing that guy to collapse on the spot. Very quickly after that, he finished taking care of the remaining guy. A few minutes later, Kyung-chun turned back to look at Captain Beak and said, I've cleaned them all up, hurry up, hurry up. Lee-soo immediately replied, of course. The scared big brother standing next to them did not dare to breathe loudly, seeing the 2 of them leave, he still couldn't recover. Baek Lee-soo didn't hesitate any longer and ran straight to Tai-san. As he ran, he thought to himself, Chief Jang has gotten involved with the Earth Wolves, why is this so fast? Back that day, holding the contract in hand, Director Tae-hyung of the Earth Wolf said to Manager Jang, what is this, he looks like a useful guy, this guy will do what we do, request, like these amateurs. Thought Room Jang adjusted his glasses and answered Ryu Tae-hyung, Director Tae-hyung, do you know why we are professional? Old Jang explained, if income and expenditure are not balanced, you will not work. So as long as you have money, what anyone says doesn't matter. At this point, that guy is the #1 professional among the professionals. Baek Lee-soo was quickly running back to Tae-san when a motorbike came at him with an iron rod and attacked him. A large group of neatly dressed people gathered at the foot of the building, watching everything that happened. In their hands are sharp daggers, ready to stab anyone who gets in their way. The offices in the building above are always lit day and night. Behind, not far away, there was a luxurious black car stopping there. In a nearby car, Ur-yong lowered his head and said deeply to the sinister department head Jang Sung-ho, I still don't believe we're involved in the association's business. Hearing that, the manager was a little surprised and asked, what? He replied without hesitation, you know what I mean. He showed an unexpectedly sinister face, stroking his hair with one hand to signal to listen, his lips half open in a bland smile. There was also a long scar on his face extending from his right eye to his left eye. He said in an unpleasant voice, I definitely killed Baek Lee-soo, then why is he still alive? The man, Jang Sung-ho, just faintly asked one question, are you sure you killed him? He continued uncomfortably, if you had brought his body back or something like that, this wouldn't have happened, don't you think so? Then he smiled faintly and let out a loud sigh. As for the long-haired Ur-yong, he sat in silence, unable to say anything more. After that, he used his 2 fists to hit each other as if he had thought of some plan. Aha, that's right, I should bring the body back, that's right, why didn't I think of that? At this moment, that Ur-yong seemed to have gone crazy, he opened his eyes wide and laughed loudly, I should bring it back, I should do that. As for department head Jang Sun-ho, he looked at himself reflected in the car glass, looked out into the distance, and said coldly and without concern, forget it, do you agree, Lee-soo? A man was now riding a large motorbike, carrying an iron rod, speeding at an unbelievable speed, passing by the guy Baek Lee-soo was about to attack. Lee-soo nimbly avoided the assassin's sudden attack. Then he leaned over, bringing the car to a horizontal stop. The tall and steady figure on the cool car thought to himself, is it the end of the road? Can't Cyan meet them? Don't mention Boss Jang. When he saw Beak Lee Soo holding a knife and confronting him, he also realized his current situation. He held a red stick, stood mentally ready to enter the fierce battle. He thought, this is going to be difficult, so many new variables appear. In the Middle East, Afghanistan is the most dangerous war zone in the desert. The soldiers wearing Muslim clothes were also very alert, holding guns and guarding, not daring to let their guard down even for a second or a minute. This is a desolate land with countless sand dunes. To overcome this harsh environment, the 66th Nomadic Battalion established a Special Action Unit. United States Special Operations Team, SOCOM, 66th Nomad Battalion, Special Operations Unit. In the barren desert, they mainly explore on off-road motorbikes. On the patrol area, an announcement sounded, Romeo 3, Target Alpha has been eliminated, we are seizing guns and ammunition, over. A guy covered in Muslim clothing, after examining the seized goods, said blandly, it's all equipment from the Allies, I don't know where they got it from, but even so, there are many variables, number. He carried his suitcase and left. Before leaving, he didn't forget to turn to look at the guy lying tied up on the ground. To survive in this place with many variables, you must find a way to survive. He quickly used his motorbike to move to a typical Afghan mud house and knocked on the door from the outside. A man with brown skin and brown eyes opened the door cautiously. Behind them, there were several people wearing scarves and holding guns, ready to attack at any time. It is an extremist group that needs weapons to cause chaos and hungry wolves that provide weapons for personal gain. After that, the other guy quickly put his backpack on the motorbike and drove away. Life has many variables. Above the vast sand desert, there are many dangerous creatures lurking. It was a desert lizard, a large cobra lying with its tongue hanging out. What they all have in common is brown skin caused by the harsh heat. This is also a place where they can easily hide and wait for prey. This is the most dangerous war zone right now. The backpack of the guy wearing camouflage clothes was filled with thick stacks of dollar bills. There was also a bomb with a bright red signal that had been activated. And if you don't anticipate the variables, you will be their victim, like the way the giant cobra turned the lizard into its light appetizer. In another corner, the guys holding the suitcase of weapons from earlier still hadn't left, keeping their vigilance. They still hold dangerous machine guns in their hand. An experienced guy frowned uncomfortably, waiting for the countdown on the clock to see when the bomb would explode. Another guy suddenly raised his gun, aimed straight at his teammate and shot without any hesitation. The other teammate also followed suit and fell down and logged out. At this time, a familiar assassin rode a motorbike and rode quickly. He was also holding that big red iron rod, ready to swing it. The gunmen mysteriously covered their faces. In this desert, you must stand at the top of the food chain. After the surrounding dust and smoke cleared, the other guys also realized the identity of the person in front of them, so they were extremely frightened and surprised. After that, the guy riding the motorbike continued to ride past, without any hesitation. At this moment, loud cries of pain rang out, oh. He is the most dangerous enemy named Beak Lee Soo. Lee Soo was not afraid at this time. He calmly prepared to attack the assassin. The assassin also quickly increased his speed and rushed towards Lee Soo. In his left hand, he holds an iron rod aimed at his opponent's weak point. After that, the motorcycle's lights were quickly turned off. Beak Lee Soo quickly realized what he needed to do, which was to adapt to the darkness. When moving from light to dark, it takes a while to see clearly in the dark. Beak Lee Soo flusteredly waved the knife. I can't see clearly anymore. Is that why he keeps shining the light directly at me? Lee Soo panicked, not paying attention to the fact that the large iron bar was swinging straight at the hand holding the knife. Lee Soo's hands were shaking in pain. After the assassin's unfortunate attack, Lee Soo's arm was painfully injured, and the assassin parked the car behind him, waiting for the opportunity to attack again. Beak Lee Soo was angry and indignantly looked at that assassin. That guy continued to drive towards Lee Soo, intending to attack him a second time. The scene moves to a large building, which is Tizen Corporation. Inside the building there was a fight going on. A bald guy shouted, "Hold on." Then one side wearing a black vest and the other side wearing a white shirt rushed at each other, scuffling and cursing, "Gia wolf dogs, kill them." A few guys shouted loudly, "What a bitch, we haven't met the director yet." "What about leader Ha?" Another guy replied, "We can't meet the leader either." A fierce fight was going on. There were a series of blood stains on the floor. A tall guy wearing a shirt and glasses stood behind him and said calmly, "TSK, I don't see Boss Jang, what are these guys?" The leader shouted loudly to encourage his brothers, "Don't waver." Immediately, a powerful punch was thrown straight at his face, causing him so much pain that he bled. The knife in his hand also followed suit and fell straight to the ground. He also fell hard to the ground, weakly said KHK. The guy wearing glasses turned around and said contemptuously, "Look, they're just two thugs." The two sides continued to attack each other, a never-ending melee. A guy from the Earth Wolf group grabbed a knife and rushed forward, shouting, "Go ahead, kill all those bastards, Tyson." Immediately, a punch flew straight into that guy's face. The powerful attack force seemed to transform an area. The attack also caused Jia Langs Jr. to receive a ticket to log out of the Earth. After that, he just said faintly, "Oh my god, I just want to rest." It was Choi Chun-ho, adjusting his gloves and saying in a hoarse voice, "But if Jin Yong asks, there's no other way." The other guys from Jia Lang saw him and were startled. "Judo, why is Choi Chun-ho here?" The commander wearing glasses also asked suspiciously, "Judo?" Choi Chun-ho turned to him and said, "Hey, that guy over there, you don't look much like the person next to me. It's too bad that this is our first meeting today." Hearing Mr. Choi say that guy, he still stood still with a suspicious look on his face. Mr. Choi slowly took off his vest. "Today, Choi Chaho is currently holding the position of executive director of Ilhak. He is also a second dan in judo." Old Choi said coldly, "I'm on Tyson's side." The outer shirt was taken off, revealing Chunho's large, muscular body. The reason he is here is partly because of Mr. Jin Yong's request, partly because he is holding a temporary position at Tyson Corporation, captain of Tyson Group's security team. The commander of the Jia Lang team slowly took off his glasses. He said contemptuously, "It's so troublesome." "Oh, old man, doesn't your son give you money for retirement? Why do you always like to participate in childish games?" He was previously in the Special Military Police Team, and is currently the captain of the Special Operations Team. Park Chang-hoon has been expelled from the army for violence and disruption. Park Chang-hoon was too arrogant. He did not know that Mr. Choi Chun-ho was one of the leading members of the Nine Swords, of Il Hak. Il Hak has ushered in a glorious era. And Mr. Choi was once Il Hak's sharp sword, as well as Il Hak's pride. But now he fights for Tae San's side. Mr. Choi wondered, where have all the real men gone now? A junior from Jia Lang frowned. Why the hell is Choi Chun-ho from Il Hak on Tae San's side? Park Chang-hoon was annoyed, took off his glasses and said, "What are you planning on doing here?" Park Chang-hoon's face turned cold and he put the glasses in his chest pocket. "Hey, old man, didn't your son send you money? Why are you still participating in such childish games when you're old?" "This," Choi Chun-ho said as if warning. "Ho ho, you don't look like someone in our line of work, do you? What you lack is attitude." As soon as he finished speaking, Park Chang-hoon attacked old Choi. Park Chang-hoon quickly swung his fist from bottom to top, hitting Mr. Choi Chun-ho in the face. Very quickly, his brother made the next attack, consecutive fists hitting Choi Chun-ho's face, leaving him unable to avoid it. After a series of preemptive moves, he also punched Choi Chun-ho in the stomach. Then Park Chang-hoon supported Lao Choi, who had collapsed and could not stand up on his own. Park Chang-hoon asked, "What the hell are you talking about, attitude? You and I don't even know each other, do we?" This ordinary old man, Park Chang-hoon, is indeed no ordinary man. He used to be a soldier from the affiliated military police team and he is currently the captain of the One Sync project. Baek Lee-soo stood far away thinking, "Is it broken? I've wasted too much time here. I can't just let myself be kept here forever." The assassin accelerated his attack towards Lee-soo. He rushed forward quickly, flying over Baek Lee-soo's head. Lee-soo still considered calmly, a linear attack from a motorbike, supported by its speed, then I'll aim for the chassis. Baek Lee-soo immediately bent down to attack the car. The assassin realized his intention. He quickly swung his iron bar and attacked again. This made Baek Lee-soo turn around and look at him without saying a word. Then the guy on the motorbike also turned his bike towards him. He rushed forward at an unbelievable speed, then braked suddenly, leaning forward to hit him with that red iron bar. But instead of hitting with an iron bar as expected, he used the rear wheel of the motorcycle to injure Baek Lee-soo. The hat on his head also fell to the ground. Baek Lee-soo was injured on his head. Blood flowed down his cheek. He looked at the motorcycle assassin with cold, bullet-shaped eyes. He thought, "That's the fifth one. The variables just keep piling up on top of each other. Captain Jang, Geo Rang and now even Deadline, my plan is slowly falling apart. Baek Lee-soo, you have to calm down and prepare for anything. You have to observe your opponent carefully and act in the most appropriate and optimal way." The motorbike continued to roll, bringing with it a lot of dust, dirt and rock. Baek Lee-soo continued to think, he's creating smoke by rotating the edge of his wheel. What? Is he planning on blocking my vision with that smoke? I can't see him now. Is there going to be an attack to the left, or is he planning to attack my injured right side? Variables are things that cannot be completely predicted or controlled. However, not every variable in situations is a bad thing. A tall figure adjusted the button of his vest and calmly said slowly, "Is this how a professional works? In my opinion, This is not a very professional way. The person who came was Jin Yong. Beck Lee Soo was extremely surprised with his appearance here. Lee Soo spoke up and asked the tall man in front of him, "Why did you?" Jin Yong coldly took off his shirt and replied, "How about this, do you want to get some help from this amateur?" Return to the Tae-san Company building. The scenery around the building was extremely quiet, in contrast to the situation inside. Park Chang-hoon turned around, raised his hand to scratch himself and sighed. Next to him were several juniors with murderous expressions on their faces. He rubbed the back of his neck and tilted his head to look at Choi In-ho sarcastically. "Hey old man. You're tougher than I thought." Choi In-ho stared at him, his eyes unfriendly, his hand reaching up to rub his stomach. Park Chang-hoon silently assessed, "How can a gangster's body be like this? There's no point in prolonging this forever, I'll end this right away." While Park Chang-hoon was still thinking, Choi Chun-ho swung a strong punch at him. Park Chang-hoon quickly tilted his head to the side and dodged gently, without any hindrance. He thought to himself, a speed that is not reasonable for that body at all. This means that strength is not his only strong point. I will keep my distance and... Choi Chun-ho rushed over angrily, screaming, "Actually, I've been feeling a bit bad lately. Because the government's hunting dogs have started stealing our gangster jobs." Park Chang-hoon was hit by a punch, gasping in pain and screaming. Choi Chun-ho continued, "This matter weighs heavily on our head." Very quickly after that, Park Chang-hoon pulled out a short, shining knife, preparing to swing it strongly at Choi Chun-ho. But before he could make a move, he was punched by Choi Chun-ho until his mouth bled. The knife in his hand also flew out of his hand, spinning beautifully in the air. Choi Chun-ho did not let go, squeezing Park Chang-hoon's mouth hard, causing him to only hum a few times. His face was distorted to the point of being unsightly, his eyes clearly showing surprise, his whole body trembling to the extreme. Choi Chun-ho spoke up threateningly, "Do we look that easy in your eye?" The old man was so angry that his face turned red. He kept increasing the pressure on Park Chang-hoon's mouth. "Do you think you can really defeat me just because you colluded with that cunning snake?" Even though his face was squeezed tightly, Park Chang-hoon still stubbornly resisted. He intended to use a knife to attack old Choi. But Choi In-ho calmly grabbed the knife and kept saying, "Well, we're not alone. But the way we work is extremely simple." Park Chang-hoon didn't pay attention to what old Choi said but tremblingly thought, "Are the gloves made from Kevlar bulletproof vest?" Choi Chun-ho still squeezed the face of the other Park name. He continued, "For family, friends and for the organization. That's what we fight to protect." After saying that, he threw Park Chang-hoon's head hard on the floor. The throw caused Park Chang-hoon's head to hit the ground hard and he logged out. Resolving the name of Commander Park Chang-hoon, Choi In-ho proudly and arrogantly said softly, "See, it's simple and easy to understand, isn't it?" Returning to Lee Soo's side, Jin Yong asked with concern about Beak Lee Soo's injured arm, "Is it broken, or is it simply dislocated?" Lee Soo replied, "I'm fine. More importantly, Tae-san," Mr. Jin Yong reassured, "there is nothing to worry about. Tae-san right now is not something that can be defeated." Jin Yong prepared to fight. Lee Soo reminded, "That guy is a professional. He's not an easy guy." Jin Yong calmly stroked his hair and replied, "Who cares if he's a professional or not?" Lee Soo asked in surprise, "What did you say?" Jin Yong looked straight at the assassin sitting on the motorbike and said, "Let's deal with that guy first." Lee Soo was worried. "You shouldn't face him without any preparation." He wrapped his shirt around his arms and said firmly, "Why do you have to think so much that you'll get tired? All I have to do is treat him well." The assassin turned the accelerator hard and rushed towards Jin Yong, smoke and dust flying. Yin Yong still calmly talked to Beak Lee Soo, "Director Beak Dokyung told me this." "So what's the matter? We're Tae-san." The other assassin fell to the ground with just one punch from Yin Yong. Yin Yong continued, "How do you feel? Although sometimes we use Beak Dokyung's methods to work. But this time, we have to become Beak Dokyung." This statement makes the male lead recall old memories of when Beak Lee Soo was 11 years old at that time. Thinking back, at that time, we were twins, but unlike me, who is weak both physically and mentally, he is the strongest brother in the world. When Kyung was also 11 years old, while the male lead was standing and sobbing, his brother's familiar call rang out, "Hey, Beak Lee Soo, why are you crying again? Didn't I say that if I saw you cry, I would give me a beating?" Lee Soo sobbed as she recounted, "Those guys were in 6th grade, they beat me so I was scared." "You'll get hurt." The 6th grade bullies were all beaten unconscious on the ground by Dokyung. Dokyung gave the half-eaten rice cake to Lee Soo and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? Eat it." Lee Soo shook his head and refused, "I don't eat." Dokyung appeared strong, smiling and reassuring his younger brother, "Tell them to try coming here again, I will absolutely never lose." He is also a very, very obnoxious older brother. When the 15-year-old male lead was studying at Nyet Ling Middle School, in the 2nd grade of 4th grade, news suddenly spread in the school. Hey, Baek Do-kyung is fighting again, they're at the stadium. Really, where is it? Show me. Is that guy's nose bleeding? He'll lose this way. Wow, is that guy already crying? If he cried, he would still be beaten to a pulp. One person pointed out the window and said loudly, that's Baek Do-kyung's group there, right? The name next to him confirmed, that's right. Why are those guys so cruel? Hey, the top guy is Baek Do-kyung. Baek Do-kyung is now 15 years old and studies at Korong Middle School in 2nd grade 5. Baek Do-kyung spoke up, I really couldn't believe it, only the three of you appeared. The muscular red shirt guy standing opposite replied cockily, I look like a bully like this, don't I? A guy standing around in the same class as the male lead suddenly shouted, what, a high school student, doesn't that guy look like a martial arts player? The red shirt underneath put his hands on his hips and raised his chin, saying, after all, I've already taught your friends, but you still don't know how to behave. Then it's time for your lesson, junior. Do-kyung responded, senior, aren't you already a high school student after graduating? Then you have to go there, right? What do you think you're doing hanging around middle school? Is your mind that bad, or haven't you been taught by anyone since you were little? Hearing that, the red shirt man was so angry that he gritted his teeth. This son of a bitch, Do-kyung told him, so, follow me out, I don't want to be bitten by dogs right on campus. The remaining people on both sides looked at each other tensely. Do-kyung waved his hand and signaled, you don't have to follow me, I will go alone, your current situation will only cause more obstacle. The group of people standing around talking excitedly, what's going on? Is Baek Do-kyung trying to handle everything alone? That guy is so cool, that's amazing. At this time, Lee Soo also came out to observe the situation. After going to a deserted corner, Do-kyung suddenly slammed his head on the ground. I'm sorry, senior, because the atmosphere at that time was quite tense, so I got a bit too excited. The guy in the red shirt asked in bewilderment, what's wrong with this bastard? Why did his attitude suddenly change? Do-kyung continued, I heard that senior is studying at J1 High School. I really admire that senior. You must have dealt with a lot of liars there, right? The guy in the red shirt softened his voice and said, yes, that's right. Do-kyung repeatedly bowed his head to flatter the red-shirted man, you are truly the best of the best, senior. The guy in the red shirt came closer, pressed Do-kyung's head to the ground and said proudly, wow, look at this kid, he's really sensible, isn't he? I'm planning on treating you like my brainless friend. But you're good at soothing other people's moods, I'll spare your life, but let my friends impregnate you instead, okay? What do you think? Hearing that, Do-kyung sighed. He clicked the pen in his hand while standing up and facing his cards, you damn son of a bitch, I thought you'd let me go if you humble yourself a bit. The muscular red shirt guy exclaimed in surprise, what? Before he could recover, Do-kyung rushed forward and stabbed the tip of the pen into his leg. The guy in the red shirt screamed in pain, ah, my leg. Taking advantage of this moment, Do-kyung repeatedly stepped on him, cursing, bastards like you. Ji-hoon has to jog to deliver newspapers every morning. I still tease him to the point of crying. But to be able to take care of his sister's living expenses, he still has to work tirelessly, and then you guys broke his left leg. Among his subordinates, the blue shirt rushed forward, punched Do-kyung hard, and angrily shouted, barking so much, you damn son of a bitch. Do-kyung quickly dodged the purple-shirted man's attack and continued, and Sung-guk too. Sung-guk has been very happy lately. He even makes kimbap with his mother. His house is a kimbap shop, so every day he's out in the sun delivering kimbap. But these days he can't do anything because he can't roll kimbap anymore. As he spoke, Do-kyung gently broke the blue shirt man's arm. Do-kyung clicked his tongue, TSK, I was planning to go eat kimbap at his house after being introduced by Ji-hoon, but I broke his arm. The guy in the blue shirt was in so much pain that he screamed, my hand. The remaining group rushed forward to control Do-kyung. Two guys rushed forward, one hugged Do-kyung from behind, the other held his hand tightly. The guy in the blue striped shirt took advantage of Do-kyung being held and swung his fist. This time, Do-kyung was punched in the face and his head fell back. But Do-kyung didn't complain a word, grabbed the striped shirt guy's hair and continued, oh right, there's more. Even Woo-sok with that ugly head, why did you guys hit his head like that? Do-kyung used his head to hit the guy in the blue striped shirt. He held his head and cried out, my head, do you know how much it hurts, dog? The group of people shouted to each other, let's all go up. Do-kyung raised his middle finger and said loudly, you bastards, even if you call more people here, your father will still receive them all. Touching my body won't do you any good, do you hear me, my children? At that time, Lee Soo's feelings about his brother, frankly, were, I don't like my brother who has a fiery temper, running around causing trouble all day. Things that only my brother can do. I envy his determination, I'm jealous and I want to be like him. At that time and now, I still want to become someone like him. When Do-kyung was alone confronting the red shirts group of people, the male lead ran out of nowhere to help his brother. Seeing him, Do-kyung looked surprised and exclaimed, "Hey, why are you out here, Beak Lee-soo?" Looking at the two Beak brothers, the other guys hesitated. "What is that, Beak Do-kyung? Why are there two Beak Do-kyung here?" Do-kyung asked the male lead, "Hey, do you know where this is?" Lee-soo firmly replied, "Why not? Anyway, I can't learn anything. I can't understand anything if I sit forever." Do-kyung laughed and asked again, "Are you crazy? By the way, Beak Lee-soo, if you quit studying, what are you planning to do?" Lee-soo replied, "Why do you suddenly ask that? What about you?" Do-kyung replied, "I will become a businessman, like a real man, even though I can't imagine what it will be like. I promise to let you be the director, okay?" Hearing that, Lee-soo could only exclaim, "What?" Returning to reality after Jin-young's punch, the assassin fell motionless on the ground. The male lead wisely asked Jin-young, "So what should I do? I thought I had become Baek Do-kyung, but after this time, maybe I was wrong. The current Baek Do-kyung, I don't know what kind of person my brother is. Chief Ha, as the person closest to Baek Do-kyung, do you think I can really become Baek Do-kyung?" Jin-young replied in a low voice, "I will tell you what kind of person Baek Do-kyung is. I will help you become Baek Do-kyung, the person who created the Tae-san of today." As he spoke, Jin-young knelt down on one knee in front of Lee-soo. On Choi Chun-ho's side, he put his hands forward, brushing the dust from his hand. After that, he started his hands and thought, "The Earth Wolves must have lost all fighting spirit, let's clean them up just like that." He said to the other guys, "Wow, my bones are all sore, I don't have the strength to continue fighting. At this age, I should have retired." Thinking of Lee Sung-min, Il Hack's executive director is sadly thinking for the association. Choi Chun-ho shook his head to refute his own words, "If I don't retire now, it's still a bit early." Facing the group of Earth Wolves surrounding him with weapons, Choi Chun-ho was not afraid but provoked them. "Whoa, hurry up, let the rest get up. Young people these days are so slow." From the star's side, the ghost named Ur-yong suddenly rushed forward. Returning to Lee-soo, Jin-yong was kneeling in front of Lee-soo. He continued, "And I will turn you into Baek Do-kyung, a true symbol of the Tae-san society." Jin-yong slowly stood up and said coldly, "However, he's still there, the assassin on the motorbike is now awake." He stands up his bike and prepares to attack again. Jin-yong wondered, "But who is he?" Lee-soo looked at the motorcyclist and retorted, "You're asking now, when before that you let him fly all the way over there?" Jin-yong explained, "It's because he rushed towards us, or is he one of your pro-friends?" Lee-soo denied, "No, I don't know anything other than that he is part of the US military." The motorcyclist heard this scene and angrily said, "Hey, what do you think about my car's lights?" Jin-yong continued to wonder, "Didn't you just say he was in the US Army? He speaks Korean." Lee-soo continued, "Today is definitely an interesting day." The assassin held the iron bar in his hand, spinning around in a dangerous manner. At the same time, Jin-yong took a step forward and said, "Never mind, I don't have to hold back, right?" At that moment, the assassin's phone rang. He picked up his phone and read the message, "The sender of Jorang has received 20 million won in storage fee, go to the location below. When you complete the task, the remaining amount will be sent later." After reading the message, the assassin turned around, not forgetting to point at Jin-yong. "You, the guy who broke my car lights, I will remember your face." Having finished speaking, he turned on the accelerator and sped away as fast as the wind. Jin-yong said to Lee-soo, "He's gone, I thought he wanted to play until the end." Lee-soo continued, "He only did it for money, I can only guess that he completed his mission. Or maybe he just got a better job." At the Tae-san Association's headquarters, the Tizen office, the outside scene was still quiet as if nothing had happened. The room became so silent, even the organization's underlings and the sharp vegetarian agents could feel it. The two subordinates of Tae-san, Choi Youngjin, who had worked for 2 years at Tae-san, and Lee Yeonyo, who had worked for 6 months, stood bewildered. It was a battle they could not intervene in. Special One Sync agent Jang Subin also had his vacation postponed. He was reviewing the situation of the Park family who had just been logged out by Mr. Choi. Mr. Choi Chun-ho was still fighting the ghost Ur-yong, punching him straight in the face. Ur-yong also quickly injured Choi Chun-ho. Old Choi thought, "This guy is not ordinary at all. If I relax my defense, I will immediately lose. But he was definitely injured by my attack. Well, let's use this time to end it." Ur-yong spoke up, "Ah, this isn't enough to defeat me, old man." He gave a manic smile. Choi Chun-ho frowned with suspicion. The opponent quickly used a knife to attack Choi Chun-ho. He used the knife to cut several lines on the Choi's or MS waist and back. Mr. Choi held his wound and thought, "He's so fast I'm almost done." As soon as I blocked the attack, He added another blow. Where did he come from? I misjudged him. My defense isn't something I should worry about. Yuryong smiled contemptuously and provoked. More, give me more. He raised 2 knives to prepare to attack again. His face suddenly darkened, and coldly said, let's try again. 9-blade second Choi Chun-ho was thinking to himself, this was not an opponent that he could maintain his strength in fighting. However, Il Hacks 9 swords also think that he cannot be defeated when he is protecting something. Yuryong still caught Dokyung's words and provoked old Choi, not like that, let's do it again. He quickly jumped up and stabbed Choi Chun-ho hard. Choi Chun-ho used his hand to block the knife, causing the knife to pierce his hand. Very quickly, Choi Chun-ho counterattacked, using his other hand to punch the ghost Yuryong straight in the stomach with a painful blow. Yuryong grabbed Mr. Choi's hand and provoked, is this all your strength? That's too humiliating, old man. As soon as he finished speaking, Choi Chun-ho broke his arm. He gritted his teeth and tried his best to teach the other guy a lesson. Seeing Mr. Choi turn off the phone, Cyan dared to speak up, hey, it's not the boss but your nephew? Choi Chun-ho laughed, he, why is it a nephew? Of course he is Il Hack's boss. The voice on the phone came, you guys work so hard. How do you feel about Boris? Lee Cyan quickly replied, you really can't joke with stupid Russians. While answering the phone, he stopped Boris from continuing to attack. Hey. Stop. Don. Don't. No, those are nonsense words of South Korea and dirty capitalism. Do you understand capitalism? Those are the words of Major of the General Reconnaissance Department, head of the new Special Task Force Lee Woo-chong, who has 4 years of experience and long-term work in South Korea, a total of 12 incursions into the South. Lee Cyan said excitedly, do you know what's interesting? There are some strange kids over there driving motorbikes. The captain's line kept making loud noises. Quickly catch him. Hearing that, Lee Cyan immediately said, did you hear clearly? On Lee Su's side, the assassin riding a motorbike, holding a long iron bar, was fighting face to face with the male protagonist. And Lee Su was clutching his injured arm. Yuryong suddenly burst out laughing. Ha, again. That's Beak Lee Su's sentence, right?